Hey everyone, it's Andrea with Sucs For You in Houston, Texas, and this video is about watering your succulent propagations. I posted on the Sucs For You YouTube channel's community page asking for your questions, maybe you saw it, regarding watering succulent propagations, and there were a lot of great inquiries, and I thank everyone who left their feedback. And if you're not subscribed yet, please do, so you can see when I put out a call for video suggestions and leave your questions there too. Let's get started. So whether you're propagating succulents from leaves, cuttings, or offsets, this video will help you understand when and how to water them. We'll also discuss a few other important tips, but the main focus here is about watering your propagations. But first we need to talk about callusing really quick, because no matter what, no water whatsoever should be introduced to a propagation that hasn't fully calloused. And that is because if water enters an open wound, it can cause rot to set in. If the water or the surrounding soil contains any nasty pathogens, which it probably does. And just like there's no way to tell you how long it would take a flesh wound to fully scab over, there's not one answer for how long it'll take your propagations to callus. Larger cuts will take more time to heal, of course, and it will usually take longer in more humid climates than drier regions. You'll know it's healed when there's no sign of moisture or fresh growth where the propagation was removed, whether that's a leaf, stem cutting, or an offset. Moving on, you can start your leaf propagations in a soilless medium like a paper tray or a windowsill even, but eventually you'll need to introduce them to soil. And I wanted to mention that gardeners in arid climates may need to start their calloused leaves on lightly moistened soil to help keep the propagations from drying out before they put out roots. I've heard about that happening quite often. And be sure though, even so, don't saturate the soil and focus the hydration away from the plant. You just want enough moisture to create some humidity around the plants and to help tease out new roots. Humid climates won't need to worry about this as much as long as the propagations are not kept in direct light. When it comes to leaf propagations, ideally they should not be watered until they start to put out roots, and the leaves themselves should be kept as dry as possible, which means no misting. Remember, even though they don't have roots, they're still alive, growing, and even breathing via their stomata, which are the pores covering leaves that allows gases and water to pass in and out. And standing water on leaves might actually inhibit photosynthesis, and it can definitely encourage rot. And once roots begin to grow, you can either wait for them to find the soil, which they will, and then target a small amount of water directly at the roots. Or if you're having trouble keeping the roots from drying out, you can position the leaf so the roots are easier to bury. Several light waterings throughout the week should be more than enough. Allow the soil to dry between waterings at least for a day or so you don't spoil the propagations with too much water, or else they could slow the root production. There's no set time for how long it'll take for them to grow roots or new leaves. I get asked that all the time. How long is it going to take for this little leaf to do anything? It really all depends on the type of plant, your climate, and the plant's natural growing season. And some have taken as little as a week to put out roots for me, which is amazing, and others have taken their sweet time, well over a month, maybe even 2 months. But as long as the leaf is still healthy and hydrated, there is still a chance that it can and will propagate. Now, if you're seeing a lot of root growth but no leaves, I hear about that a lot, increase the amount of hydration in the surrounding soil and then gradually offer them a bit more light. And if you're seeing new leaves forming but few to no roots, try cutting back on any hydration if you've been moistening the soil. I say that because I had a bunch of Echeveria Hercules leaves that had been removed for about 2 weeks, and I moved some to a big pot with soil along with other rooted plants that I watered while avoiding the leaves. The other batch stayed in a tray with only drainage materials, no soil, and I didn't water them at all. And those in the soil put out a lot of new leaves, but very few roots. And then those in the tray put out a lot of roots, but very few leaves. This led me to believe the leaves in the soil could sense or smell the water nearby, and didn't feel as much pressure to put out roots. So instead they focused their energy on growing new leaves, while those in the tray did the opposite. If the propagation is successful, one of two things will happen next. Either the mother leaf will dry out and the baby leaf will detach naturally, or the mother leaf may even stay hydrated long enough to become part of the new plant. and you want to treat the new plant as a baby. It may need more frequent watering to keep the roots happy, but you need to be careful not to overpot it. Overpotting is when a plant is in a pot that has too much soil for it to dry out quickly enough. So use a smaller pot, and then make sure you have plenty of drainage materials in the soil mix. Moving on to cuttings, as with leaf propagations, cuttings need to be fully calloused before introducing any water, and again, in most cases, it's best to wait for roots before introducing moisture, unless you're in an arid climate. I prefer air potting my succulents so I can tell when they're fully calloused without digging them up and possibly disturbing any fragile new roots. And this just means I'll either put the cuttings in an empty pot or in a container partially filled with drainage materials. We need to keep them upright because they are still growing, and if they're laying down, they'll start to bend and sit up like little plant zombies in search of the light. Once your cuttings are calloused and hopefully even putting out some roots, you can pot them in dry soil. I wait a few days to make sure the roots have some time to get used to being in soil. Then I water about 3 times a month. Depending on the pot, the soil will be pretty much dry after 5 days, and I still want it to stay dry for a few days before watering again to help encourage the roots to go looking for moisture. You can watch your cuttings for new top growth, and that will be a good indicator new roots are forming as well. After a month or so, you can gently tug on the plant to see if there's any resistance from the new root growth. Be sure to wait until the soil is dry to check for those roots, or else they can break and pathogens and moist soil can enter more easily, and we all know that's not good. Well, finally, let's talk about offsets. If the offset or pup doesn't have its own root system yet, it needs to be treated as a cutting. And even if it does have its own roots, like with aloes and haworthias, you'll still need to give it time for any broken roots to heal before introducing any water. So I like to leave offsets unpotted for a few days. That way I can easily keep an eye out for any infection or other problems. And I still wait a couple of days before watering them after potting them up. Again, any broken roots should be given time to heal, and I think that they also appreciate a bit of time to get used to being buried in soil before being watered. As with the other methods of propagation, start out with less frequent waterings until the root system is more robust, and be sure not to overpot your offsets. Well, that's all for this video, and I hope it helped answer most of your questions about watering your succulent propagations, and that you have much better luck with them if you haven't had much luck with them before. Remember to subscribe to my channel so you get notifications when I upload a new video or post on the community page, asking for your feedback and ideas about future videos, because that's really helpful for me. Finally, be sure to check out the video descriptions for helpful links like how to get your copy of my book, The Succulent Manual, supplies I use and recommend, and where to order some really great plant mail if you're ever in the mood for that. And I thank you all so much for watching.